Hello everyone, this is HUSKY here. I'm going to be casting a custom game that is currently on Battle.net. It is very popular, and what it is it's basically 1 versus 1 on Xel'Naga Caverns, but it allows for up to, I think, 12 people? We're going to watch one of the players get absolutely decimated right here. But, basically how this map works is it's one-on-one, everyone else observes during the games, and then you make bets on who you think is going to win throughout there, and the earlier you bet and get it right, I think you get more minerals, or not minerals, but it's like points, and then everyone plays each other. The winner of each match is going to be the next, they go on to the next round while another person is randomly selected to play them. So this was the first round, and as you can see, yeah, it's kind of weird to use the tabs because this is how many people are in the game, but these are the two size tabs right now. Just looking at the army size tab, you can see black is about to win the game. But so basically, so black player is going to win this. The next round is going to be a randomly selected person, which, you know, just happens to be me in round number 2. I think you can even look at the APM tab and see, so this player's at 111, and whatever that Protoss was, I'm guessing was the 40. Yeah, Golden. So Golden ended up losing that one, and so I'm going to be in the next game. I actually have to speed this up a little bit, and so that first round has started, and then the next round is going to commence right now. So now I'm going to be playing the Terran player. I'm going to leave this sped up a little bit just because I know this replay is fairly long because it's actually several games back to back to back. And so, I don't know, I decided to cast this. I think it's something kind of cool. I don't think anyone's really done something like this before, and you will get to see me noob it up as many times as I can possibly win. So here we go. And also these random critters, you get a critter to move around if you're not doing anything, so you can just move around your opponent's base for fun. And look, you can see this one's like selected, and they can be moved around. It is just for epic lulz. So anyways, this one is going to be a Protoss versus Terran, and I'm going to be the pink Protoss, of course, because I love pink. It's just distracting, so all these things are highlighted by those players. But I'm going to basically just do the standard opener. For those of you who don't know what the standard opener is, you get your pylon on 9. I prefer to get my gateway on 13. I think it's more standard to get it on 12. So after my pylon finishes, I chrono boost out 2 workers, get to 12, and then start my 13th right when I'm making my gateway. And then once your gateway is on the way, I'm messing this up really bad with my income, but then you get, once the gateway is on the way, then you get your gas, and once you have enough off of the gas, you get your pylon, and then you get your cybernetics core. So that's the standard opener for Protoss. That is essentially how you open as Protoss. I may make tutorial videos on that. I'm not sure if that would be useful or not. Hopefully it is, though. So for now, since my probe did get stuck outside of his base, I decided to just attack the supply depot. And you might as well do the damage to a Terran player, because if he decides to repair this, number 1, it's going to cost him, you know, just a couple minerals. And number 2, he will also have to use the SCV to repair that if he decides to. But for now, he did lower the supply depot, does have his SCV chasing me out of there. So I'm going to scoot on out of there. I think it might be best for me not... Well, maybe I can do the units tab, but that covers like the whole mini-map. There's so many players. So I don't know that I can really use a lot of these tabs here. So I do have the cybernetics core on the way, and against Terran, I actually prefer not to wall in. The Terran player is walling in against me, which I'll talk about in a second. But against a Terran player, I prefer not to wall in because, number 1, most Terran players go for early attacks with Marines and Marauders, and you want to have your units spread out as much as possible. You want your sentries to be free to cast force field, and you want your stalkers to be free to shoot the units that get trapped. So I prefer not to wall in just so I can have a nice little arc here, because really I feel like if you wall in against a Terran, all of his units are ranged anyways, so it's actually going to favor him because he can shoot your buildings. Now against a Zerg player, a lot of their units like Zerglings that they could be massing up, or even Banelings, those are melee attacks, so they have to run up to the buildings, and then that gives you the ability to shoot them from the safe distance. So again, against Terran, I prefer not to wall in. The Terran player did, however, wall in against me, which I personally prefer when a Terran player does this. And I will show you a little bit why as my build commences. But basically, I like to go for Void Rays against Terrans. I don't always go against Void Rays, but if they are walled in, I definitely go against a Void Ray because, or I definitely get Void Rays because you can usually end up charging your Void Rays on the supply depots right here, depending on which angle you want to attack at. And I really like that because once your Void Rays are fully charged in their base, it is very difficult to stop. And I don't say it's impossible. If the Terran player gets the right units, he can counteract that very easily. But a lot of players aren't quite prepared for that. So I do have my 2 gateways here. Sometimes you can get your Stargate before the second gateway. I just prefer to, in this situation, I got both gateways because I want to hide my Stargate. So I am hiding it actually up here. It is almost done. So I'm hiding it out of range of the Terran player, And the reason I'm doing that is for when, if he scans my base, he is not going to see the Stargate, hopefully. Unless he places his scan, he kind of feels like there's something going on. Did he scan already? I do know that he scans me one point in the game. I think he did. No, maybe he hasn't scanned me yet. But at some point he will scan me, and it's actually right here, which is exactly what I want him to do. So my warp gate technology is now done, and there's the scan right there. So if we take a look at what he can see, he can't see my Stargate because I have it hidden quite at a range. So the scan's going right there. He's like, oh god, there's something hidden. I don't know what it is. And so he's going to have to continue his build as standard. And so for now, he's actually going to be getting out some Reapers. And is he getting more than one? Yeah, so he's getting out a couple of Reapers. The reason he's doing this is he'll probably use these for a counterattack. He'll wait for me to move out and then use them to counterattack inside the Protoss space. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this. It can work. But I think in this game he goes for 4 Reapers, and I wouldn't recommend getting 4. However, I have seen builds like this actually work, where if the Protoss player isn't looking, he will lose all of his workers instantly. So I do have a bunch of Zealots and a Sentry as well. So that Sentry is moving out, and I do have my, is that my first Void Ray? Second one is going to finish. Make sure to Chrono Boost him out. And I am going to be moving out. I do have my probe over here to set up the pylon going over here. And so I also have the Phoenix on the way. The reason I have the Phoenix here is by the time this army pushes out to the Terran base, my Phoenix should be arriving pretty shortly thereafter, because number 1, Phoenix build quickly, and number 2, Phoenix move quickly, so you can actually get the Phoenix there right when you're attacking. Just make your attack a little bit stronger instead of waiting for a third Void Ray, which will take forever to get over there. So anyways, if we look at my vision, you can see I can see this wall in right here, and I'm going to start charging up here. At the same time, I'm going to be using these units to just harass these right here so that they do not attack the Void Rays. One of my Void Rays is now charged. I did use a force field there to trap both Marauders, so now the Terran player in a lot of trouble here, as he does have his Marines now stuck back here, so he's going to have to micro to the best of his ability. I do have my Void Rays now. I think they're both fully charged, so I am going to run them over there. At the same time, though, he is going to be attacking me with these Reapers. I do see it. I pull the probes off the line just because I'm hoping he won't micro against them. He does see it, however, but I warp in 2 Stalkers, which is why I'm going to run the probes. At the same time, I am going to be attacking this with my Void Rays. I'm just going straight for the buildings, because at this point, the only thing he can do is kill me with Marines, and since I have so many Void Rays, the 2 Void Rays with the charged up Rays, he will kill those off. My Phoenix arriving just in time to pick those units up, and then all the buildings explode, because that's how you know you've won. So he gave up. So I won that game. I beat the victor of the last game. So I'm going to go ahead and speed it up to the next game. And I'm not sure who I play in this next game. Did I spawn on the top right? No, I'm playing a Zerg player. His name is Win. For some reason, this is super glowy. They aren't normally this glowy, are they? That is so glowy. It's like hurting my eyes. It's so bright. So that's actually kind of cool looking. Mine not nearly as cool, although mine is pink, and pink is the real man's color. So again, I'm going to speed this up just a little bit and just let it kind of run on here, as I am now playing the player Win, as I did defeat my last opponent. And so, yeah. I don't know what you guys think of this map. I actually think it's kind of fun to play on this map. It's a really, really, really good practice map. The only thing I don't like is I think they allow a few too many players, because there is, I think it's 12. It might be 8. But either way, I mean, that you could potentially have to wait for a very long time. So if this would be a good map to play with your friends, if that's something you are interested in doing, as basically it's just good practice. It of course doesn't go on your record or anything like that, so it's just for fun, and you can really practice build orders. This map is a very common map. I would say it's one of the most common maps right now, so it's not too bad to actually go ahead and play a bunch of games on this one. So I do have my probe over here trying to block off his expansion, although he is deciding to go for his spawning pool, and a lot of times you'll see players go for the spawning pool and the extractor and also the queen before getting an expansion out, which could be potentially what this player is doing. He should be getting out a gas or something. If he was playing standard, he would be going for the expansion, or actually, is he going to get, what did he just spend all of his money on? Oh, he did tell his drone to get a hatchery there. So I could have actually blocked his hatchery off, but I'm a doofus, and I was like, where's that drone making the hatchery? And I didn't realize he was expanding. So he did go ahead and get the hatchery after spawning pool while making drones, it looks like, the entire time. He does have a queen on the way as well, and does not have his gas on the way. So the reason he doesn't have that, though, is because he just basically doesn't want Zergling speed right now, so he is not going to worry about that. He could be potentially going for Mutalisk Zergling, or just going for roaches or something like that. So against Zerg players, I love to wall in. This wall in I did is actually really good, because you have the Gateway and the Cybernetics core nice and tightly packed here, and then an opening big enough for Stalkers. So this wall in is the wall in I try and do, but I usually mess it up. And also the pylon's right up next against here. So not only is it just a nice, snug wall in, you can also warp in units right here You can even warp them in on the low ground, and then obviously you can warp in back here. So pylon placement, very important. Make sure the pylon is not vulnerable to banelings at the entrance. If banelings run in here and blow up your pylon, you will be in a lot of trouble. So I do have my second gateway on the way right now, and I think he killed my probe. I'm pretty sure he killed that off, so I'm not sure exactly what he's doing. So if we take a look at what I see, I do not know that he has his Roach Horn on the way, but I am assuming that he watched my last game and he is going to see me go for Void Ray. So I'm hoping that he's actually going for Hydras, and that I want to try and get there before those Hydras start to kick in. And I do decide to go for the 4-gate. Everyone makes fun of me for going 4-gate, but on this map, I think it's fairly strong. Not the best build, because Zerglings can get a, number one, they can do a lot of counterattacks, a lot of run-bys if he does get a lot of Zerglings, and number two, they can get a nice surround through these areas. You can run up multiple different directions, and that can be extremely frustrating to deal with. But it does look like he is going to be going for some Zerglings, and he does have an expansion up and running. Probably should transfer 1 or 2 drones over there, but I don't know that he's going to, as he is now going to be making roaches, it looks like. Yes, he does have 3 roaches on the way, and he is going to go for a build that is fairly strong against my build, just because he will actually get units on the field. But what I'm doing here with this Stalker is I'm patrolling him back and forth, because I do not want an Overlord to scout inside my main base. I mean, obviously there's no Overlord here, but I don't know that while I'm in game, and so just make sure that you are prepared to deal with Overlord scouting. You want to hide your 4-gate as long as you can. That's why these buildings are in the back of my base. So if he did send an Overlord, they would be hidden as long as possible. And so I'm kind of curious, will the army size tab come up? Yeah, he's at 44. I'm at 39, and he did actually see my pylon on the way, so he knows that I'm going to be aggressive, and he actually spotted this pylon right when it goes down. However, I do have my army running up here, and so I don't want to cancel that pylon, because I feel like the pylon will complete regardless. And I do use Guardian Shield here. That may have been a little bit premature, but it is guarding the majority of these units. And I am warping in some additional Zealots. Now against the Roaches, you actually want to have more Stalkers. I am a very Zealot-heavy player, so I kind of do that a little bit too often sometimes, but against these, Stalkers do additional damage versus Roaches. Zealots are actually pretty good against the Roaches if you have enough Zealots to get in their face and force the Zerg player to have to micro around. I do try and split up my army here just a little bit, so it does force him to micro around, and he is producing a lot more Roaches. I think these are all Roaches, so all these Roaches have now spawned. He does have 5 more, and there are some Zerglings over here. My Stalker unwisely running into that, and I didn't realize that was going on. So that poor Stalker going to get taken out, and he is going to run up the ramp with his units. He does have some reinforcing Zerglings as well, and I guess I can turn on the health bars here. You can see my units are taking quite a beating. I was able to keep this Sentry alive, and the Sentry, very important. You can use the Force Field, of course, and the Guardian Shield if you decide to. So I run some Zealots up the ramp just to take care of those Roaches. At the same time, I'm going to be killing off the drones down here. And at this point, I could either focus down the hatchery, but that's always a bit of a risk, because if they have something brewing up here that you don't know about, say like Hydras, then you want to get in their main base immediately. And I do force field the ramp, preventing those 3 Roaches from running up here. This Queen is going to go down, and my Zealots, the 2 on the side, are softened up, but they haven't taken that much damage. So I'm going to win this game as well. And so now we get to watch his basics. Well, I love how it spawns Broodlings, which are just going to kill off my units while we sit here waiting. So going to speed it up once again. And so I'm currently 2-0, and we are just going to go ahead and speed it up. How about ×4? So you can hear the countdown time. And so now I'm going to be playing against Syncon, which is at a brown Zerg in the top right side, and I am in the bottom left side once again. So far I've gone 2-gate Stargate and 4-gate, and keep in mind that these players can watch as you're doing this while you're playing each and every game. I mean, the whole point is that they can spectate it. So I already know that they know I can do those 2 builds. So I'm going to have to try and spice it up once again, as they do have a spawning pool on the way. This time he did get his gas early, so he's probably going to be going for Speedlings. And once again, I do bring my probe down here. However, he's probably going to get out a Queen and some Zerglings before actually taking that expansion, and he is going for the Zergling speed. So if you scout in a Zerg's base and you see the early gas, that usually means that they're going to get that Zergling speed. Not always, but usually that's exactly what it means. You can see he has, I think, no, that's not him having it selected, but he probably will get it. There you go. He started it right there. Does have his Queen on the way. I decided to run my probe away, which actually, now that I remember, I accidentally did a misclick here where I had my hotkeys switched, so I accidentally moved my scouting probe down. So just a slight mistake there. And so I do have my Cybernetics Core on the way, doing basically the standard opener again, getting the 2nd gateway. And a lot of times you can get out the tech building very fast. Like right when you're cybernetics core finishes, but you have to be careful because if they scout it, you can be in a lot of trouble. So I do have a gateway, and I am chrono boosting out the warp gate as well as that first stalker just to prevent any kind of scouting. Now my probe did make it inside the base. I saw exactly what was going on there, and this probe is going to die. However, I am microing to the best of my ability to keep him alive as long as possible, and he's going to get taken out right there. But I did see quite a bit there that was very valuable information, able to get inside the base. You always want to try and sneak a probe in there a little bit later. No, not at the 38-minute mark, but at the, I don't know how far we are in this game, maybe 5 or 6 minutes. But for now, the warp gate's still on the way, and I put a pylon down here. I was going to hide a tech structure back here. Turns out if you put a pylon right here, you can't fit a tech structure right there. So that made me kind of sad. But I am going to, do I get a Stargate? Yeah, I get a Stargate this game. The build I was going to go, which was a build I recently put on my channel, I forget what game it was, but you basically get out a Void Ray and then a Phoenix, and you move out with just those two, and you use the Phoenix to pick up the Queen, and the Void Ray to get fully charged on the Queen and you kill her, and then you have a fully charged Void Ray in their main base. And if they don't have additional Queens in position to deal with it, it can be like a KO punch in their jaw. You just have to do it right. However, I'm a doofus, and I did allow 2 Zerglings, or actually there's 4 Zerglings inside my base, and he did see that, so I decided to cancel it, and I'm going to go for a more standard robotics base. So Wind has left the game after not winning against me. Heyo! And so I did cancel that tech because he saw it, so I decided to go for the robotics. And honestly, in most games, I probably would have gone for the 4-gate. And I know you guys hate me talking about that, but if you cancel the Stargate and then go for a 4-gate, if they make additional Queens or additional, if they go for Hydralisk, or it looks like he's actually, yeah, see, he's actually going for Spore Crawlers because he's expecting air units. So I would have a huge advantage with the 4-gate if I decide to attack. And I was going to actually do that, but I didn't think about it until too late. And I saw that my robotics was about halfway done when I started thinking about this. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to go ahead and go with the robotics. And I believe I get an observer as yeah, I do get an observer. And I'm just going to go straight to Colossus. I really like 1-base Colossus. A lot of people post on my channel making fun of me, but I think 1-base Colossus is fun. And it can be very strong if you get the timings down right. Now, my timings are going to be a little bit off because of the fact that my robotics phase is going to be way late. And also, since I started with a Stargate opener, you don't really need as much gas as a Colossus opener. So I did get my gas a little bit later. So this build is much more weak than it would be if I was just doing this from the beginning. However, since my opponent thinks I'm going something different, then I will be just fine. Now, surprisingly, he's not actually going for a Hydralisk, so maybe he knows that I did switch. No, he actually doesn't know that. But he would have to be careful here, because if I did have a Void Ray, I could harass these drones pretty easily, and he actually doesn't have any defense at the expansion. So, again, I just like to tech switch a lot if it does get scouted by a Zerg, because a Zerg's job is to react to what their opponent is doing, and apparently he's actually getting 2 Overseers here. Didn't know that while I was playing him, but he does have 2 Overseers. My observer does get spotted, so I'm going to run this observer away. Make sure to keep your first observer alive. I could have very well lost him if I wasn't watching him extremely closely. And then also, one thing a lot of players will do as a Zerg is if they see the observer, they'll right-click the Overseer to follow him, and just make sure you have to run your observer all the way to safety. He is sending out a changeling to try and scope me out. However, I just have basically a gateway army, but that is because, boom, I am working on Colossus, and as you can see, once again, I do have a bunch of Zealots. The reason I like the Zealots, though, is they protect the Colossus from lots of damage, as the Zealots are very robust, they take a lot of damage, and they are just good. They're pretty good. Just make sure not to get too many. I kind of have that problem. So the Zealot right here is up here. Can he see my Colossus? Yes, he can. And so he does know I want a Colossus. I actually tried to keep the Colossus in the back so he couldn't get spotted. However, he does know exactly what's on the way, and that is going to be Colossus. He's probably scratching his head a little bit like, how does he have this? And the Changeling right here, I actually kill him way late, but always want to look out for Changelings. I didn't actually realize there's a Changeling there because I'm a giant noob. And then I was like, oh, this guy's in my way, so I should probably kill that off. Now, he did see my Colossus. I don't know if he saw the Thermal Lance on the way. Did he? We can actually double check that. No, he did not see that, but Thermal Lance on the way. And I like to move out once I have a second Colossus, which I should actually already have my second Colossus by now. But like I said, my timing is a little bit off simply because of the since I was going to go a different build originally. So I am moving out here, and if we do look at the army size tab, is it going to show us both? Yes, 67 to 68. And if we look at the units tab, oh, I can't see how many drones he has. but I only have 21 as I did cut production of workers quite a while ago. And basically, I cut production of workers so I can move out with this army and try and beat them with this push. Now, I did put a forge and 3 pylons right here because I can just warp in units here, and I don't have to worry about that. And I know he's not going Mutalisks, as I did scout him with the observer, so I kind of know exactly what's going on. This queen's still trying to kill my observer, and this chat is when the game is lagging. There's tons of lag in this. So I am moving out now with a bunch of stalkers, a bunch of zealots, and there's 1 sentry in there. Always make sure to have at least 1 sentry, bare minimum. And so here comes the attack right now. Now I did soften up 1 Zergling and a little bit on the other ones. He is morphing in some Banelings right here, although bad positioning there, as I was able to kill out the majority of them. Some of the Banelings are going to finish and blow up right away on this army, but Banelings are not very good against Protoss. And so if we do look at the, can I look at the army size tab? Yeah, he is a little bit ahead of me, 60, or now we're tied, 61 to 61. Although I am warping in. Do I have my pylon? No, I actually didn't have a proxy pylon set up for this attack. Now, I did see he had a bunch of roaches, and I was wanting to be very careful here, so I'm actually going to back out and just get these units here. But then I realized he's not going to do a Zergling run by. I thought for sure that he was, so I decided to kill off this pylon, and I do have my probe moving down here. Do I set up an expansion? Yes, so I have my expansion on the way, which the timing of this way later than the Zerg. However, I know for a fact that I have, I mean, of course, my 2 Colossus, and my 3rd Colossus just spawning. So I know that the Zerg player, unless he's getting a Spire right now, he's not going to be able to defeat my Colossus very soon. So that's why I'm securing the expansion. And I'm not too worried about the timing of it because our Zerg player is behind in tech because he did get a bunch of roaches to try and stop my initial push. So, yeah, my expansion timing is later, but I'm not too concerned. So I'm going to be running up here 3 Colossus now, and I think I begin the +1 attack. Yes, always get that +1 attack ASAP as Protoss. Probably should have actually got it a little bit earlier. And I do have my Observer with my army now, so I can kill off these creep tumors. Or do I have my Observer with my army? I think I guess that one was just being built, and my Observer may have finally gotten killed off. So he does have a Spire on the way now, but those Corruptors are not going to be in time. Now the Zerglings are going to come around for a surround. I'm going to micro my Colossus as best as I can. Roaches, they are trying to focus down the Colossus. Now I do have more reinforcements moving out across the map. However, the last Colossus may go down here in this big old battle, and so I was able to hold that off just barely. And if we do look at the army size tab, it is 59 to 54. This Colossus being a hero Colossus, I do back him all the way up to do as much damage as possible. And unfortunately for me, I do not have a proxy pylon to reinforce this very quickly. So this is a very close battle. Drones are getting pulled off here, and there is still 1 or 2 roaches alive. But Syncon does GG there. But if you look at it, all I had was this left, and it was a ragtag team at best. And he does decide to GG. All those larvae get taken out. And yeah, so that is pretty much going to be it. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. The next game, I actually had to leave mid-game, so that was no good. I went a 4-gate against a 2-gate Robo, and I had to leave right when I was about to do my attack. So that's life. He would have technically beat me because I had to leave the computer, so not much fun there. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you enjoyed this. I know some of the games aren't the best, but you can kind of see different build orders I do and kind of my thought process when doing them. So that is that. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will post the name of the map in the probably in the description, not necessarily in the title, because it could be very misleading if I name it after that. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time.